culture is actually pretty good.
We've got a like egg in there. You want to kick? You're going to kick.
Runs into the end zone. That is a touchdown.
Seeing ghosts.
Quite possibly the most predictable outcome in sports. The Jets got the shit beat out of them by Baltimore's impressive offensive attack. They had no answers for Lamar Jackson all night long. I know it's especially hard for them since the Jets lack this thing called talent. Most of it is injured or underperforming. Are you prepared for more unsurprising news? The Ravens officially claimed the AFC North title for the second year in a row. Charm City celebrates this surge throughout the night. Did anything else happen? Not really, only that Lamar broke the single-season record for rushing yards by a quarterback. That's not a big deal whatsoever. Man, someone doesn't want Kansas City to play football. First it was the equipment fiasco, now the gods curse you with an otherworldly winter storm. Numerous Chiefs players were caught up in the resulting chaos on the roadways, making them late for warm-ups. Just like last time, they were okay. Unlike their previous flirtation of fate, they kicked some serious ass. Denver had their 1 week where they hailed Drew Lock as the future savior of the franchise. He was exposed in the elements. Let's just say he's got some work to do. Kansas City just as they're tweaking for playoff time, and they made it look easy. Denver, well, dies again. Who the hell knew that bringing in an aging checkdown magnet and Joe Flacco wouldn't lead to success? Before you ask, no, John Elway isn't going anywhere. That one game where Locke looked like a stud will make sure of that. Detroit and getting the shit beaten out of them. You couldn't name me a more relevant combination if you tried. Hey, at least in this regard, all of your sports teams would be perennial championship contenders. Today's benefactors of this feast are the Buccaneers, with famous Jameis flashing his brilliant upside. All of the touchdowns and yards with minimal self-inflicted wounds. If anything can be considered a good thing for the Lions, yet another collapse via prolonged losing streak may force people to get fired again. You can't tell me that what you're seeing on the field is worthy of more time. You just can't. Don't give me injuries, they'd still suck if they were fully healthy. Maybe the Ford family will show up before it's 3 years too late to make an impact. Do you now understand why there's no need to even pretend to try and spy on the Bungles? They're lost in their own sea of garbage. If anything, the Patriots will need to get into abduction, since the offensive tools they have at their disposal are rusted and lack durability. Cincinnati even had a lead at one point in this game. Could you believe it? The Bungles doing such a thing? We all felt hope for about 5 minutes. Then Cincinnati unveiled their incredible Joe Burrow offense. It's where Andy Dalton gets a one-way ticket to Buffalo. That is also intercepted. He can hold a clipboard while the Patriots play them, or watch them on TV as they play in the postseason again. Shocking. I would hope for more impotence on offense, but you know the bullshit will keep coming. Kind of like recording a sideline and trying to pass it off as a feature on the advanced scout. Once again, why the hell do you have to spy on the Bungles? It's the appetizer match to the grand finale of Tank Bowl, and we're better to have it than this year's unofficial home field in MetLife Stadium. The Dolphins trying to destroy their beautiful tank against what might be Eli's last ride. With such a matchup at hand, neither team would surrender such a must-lose game for both sides. For a hot minute, I was worried that Miami would tar and feather all the values they hold dear, but Manning had different plans. He took advantage of a terrible Dolphins defense despite his propensity for interceptions. Does everyone remember who Saquon was? He managed to do something without being ineffective or injured. It is the worst-case scenario for the Giants. They are sabotaging their own tank. Maybe they learned that Chase Young might be staying in school for another year and decided it wasn't worth the hassle. They may still be in second place for the Tank Bowl, but this is a brutal setback for them. And for what? A farewell that might replay in Week 17? A horrible decision. Time to play a game, children. We call this How Long Will Kyle Allen Keep Turning the Ball Over Until the Panthers Decide to Do Something? The answer, this upcoming week. It was yet another disaster for a team that is circling the drains of their franchise. Although I will say Allen was developing some outstanding chemistry with KJ Wright. Great for the Seahawks, not for Allen's future. It doesn't matter in any way that the Panthers tried to come back, with Seattle eager to take advantage of Carolina's god-awful mistakes on offense. There is no need for them to worry. They'll have a playoff berth signed, sealed, and delivered by Monday. It was between Seattle and Atlanta for the final wildcard spot when I did my season preview a few months ago. Let's just say I chose poorly. Why, oh why did I trust those goddamn chokers to do anything good? With Josh Gordon keeping quiet, many people were questioning New England's quick trigger finger and cutting him loose. Now we know why. The guy just can't keep himself clean. Yet another indefinite suspension for substance abuse. This may truly be the end of the road. He keeps relapsing even with all the support and resources in the world. Sometimes men can't be helped from themselves. It may be time to let him go until he overcomes the root cause of his dependencies. What a damn waste. Who knew this would be a matchup with significant ramifications for the AFC South? Not anyone a few months ago. The Texans were punched in the mouth at home last week and now face a true test, facing off against the white-hot Titans in Nashville. Then again, this may be just yet another resetting of the infamous Tennessee cycle. Titans fans know what this is about. They'll have a strong stretch of games that'll make them interested in the team. They know deep down that it will betray them like it did in the past, but come on, look at Tannehill!
And then you can just throw quick. There it is. It comes under the arms of Houston.
This is the moment where everything falls apart again. One play. That's all it takes. A receiver botching an easy catch to result in Houston gaining momentum. The Titans wouldn't recover. Yeah, Tennessee will keep it close, but their fans know deep down that it's all for naught. Houston survives the onslaught to maintain control of their division. Alas, Nashville, your golden chance at assertion has fallen to the wayside yet again. Next week, you get New Orleans. Yeah. Okay, Philly, you have another great chance to make another claim for the NFC East. It's against a shithole in the Redskins. All you have to do is not fuck up and you'll win. Even then, the Eagles have to make this much, much harder than this looks. Dwayne Haskins has done nothing all year, so it makes perfect sense that he will pick apart their decimated and underperforming secondary with ease. It kinda played out like the Week 1 performance at the Link, where Philadelphia does everything in their power to lose, yet do just enough to give their fans some semblance of hope. This is before they realized they played like shit against one of the worst teams in the league again. I'm supposed to be overjoyed that you won? Unimpressive display while you stumble into 7 wins. Next week, though, is do or die. Be prepared. This is it. The moment that the Bears will do everything in their power to win. Not just for their fleeting playoff hopes, but because it's against their drunken northern neighbors who feign superiority over them every year. I would too if I was facing against such a lifeless offense like the one the Bears flaunt on a weekly basis. Terrible play calling, awful line play, no running game, Mitch Trubisky. These are what the Packers will pretend is legit competition. But then, yes, even then, Green Bay can't piece together another goddamn 60-minute effort. They fall flat in the second half, which isn't shocking when it happens for roughly the 7th time this year. It gives Chicago life when their offense manages to do, well, something. Even with all of their constant flatlining, the Bears still have a shot. And that's all they need.
They just set it up to Cohen, looking for some blockers. Tariq Cohen. Now he's going to throw it backwards. Ball is dropped. Coming up to get it is Trubisky. Making moves. Still on his feet. This play is still going. Horsted's got it. Ball is loose on the ground. And it is going to be it. Ball game.
Congratulations, Bears. Your season is officially a double doink. Have you grown tired of the constant comparisons of Trubisky to Watson and Mahomes? Good, because you're going to be hearing them for the next 20 years. Now Matt Nagy might be broken by wasting that incredible defense instead of a field goal. Might help with the fact that he can't game plan for shit. It will at least be something to ponder as the Packers make it back to January football. Sorry, I'm not impressed with Green Bay this time around. Yes, the surface numbers look good, but when you look deeper, they have serious deficiencies on their team. Maybe Aaron Rodgers will unleash God mode again and make me look like an idiot. That's always a possibility. Nothing screams winning the fight for LA like the stadium breaking out into a skull chant when it's supposed to be a home game for the Chargers. Oh right, that's every week for them. Nowadays, it's accompanied by soundly humiliating defeats. Minnesota had almost no trouble dispatching of the now decimated Diamond Dogs on their own land. You know it's a special day for a defense when they force 7 turnovers. It was a rout, and quite possibly the end of the road for Phillip Rivers. They'll probably keep playing him due to loyalty, but he's malfunctioned and is throwing so many picks that Draymond Green is getting jealous. I get started on lamenting another talent this team has squandered. I had a feeling this would happen. When you combine a team that's played their opponents tough with one that has no focus and is all but checked out, it creates the perfect storm. It wasn't even as if the Browns were trying to compete, they were annihilated. Look at these photos and tell me this is a team that is playing for their coach. Do their star wideouts get into public spats with a human thumb they call a leader? This team is fucking dead, and the Cardinals took full advantage of it. The defense, well, if you could call it that, couldn't stop a damn thing. Why do I harp on this? Well, if someone could explain to me why the Browns think Freddie Kitchens is a long-term option at coach, it would help out a ton. Why does Cleveland keep insisting on refusing to admit a mistake? This guy is completely out of his element as head coach. Cut your losses and move on. Might have to do the same with OBJ as well, but that's another story. It's another must-win matchup for the Cowboys, especially after last week's cattle branding that nobody wants to talk about. It appears that Dallas got the message. Against the Rams and the much-hyped offensive machine, an exposure was in order. Los Angeles was completely destroyed. Even Dak didn't know the rules and nearly allowed the Rams to receive both kickoffs to start the first and second half. The NFL overruled it, fortunately, but they didn't need to. The Cowboys finally played up to their goddamn potential. It might be for the worst, boys. Remember, every win allows Jason Garrett to stick around and piss away the talent that this team has. Maybe a loss to the Eagles next week isn't the worst thing in the world, but then again, Jerry Jones wouldn't know logic if it started sucking his dick in the owner's suite. May the agony continue for us all. Oh yeah, and the Rams are fucked. No one feels bad for them. It's finally here. The final game for the Raiders at the Black Hole. Think of all the memories of violence and mayhem that have occurred on this hallowed ground. A win against Jacksonville would do a lot for fan morale and leave on a rather bittersweet note. You put Raider Nation through a lot of bullshit over the past 15 years, so a 16-3 lead at halftime is just the remedy. Sounds like a storybook ending, right? You would be mistaken. Just like a microcosm of all the incompetence that Oakland has been put through, the Raiders allow the Jaguars to come back into the game in the fourth quarter. Even then, still a chance to seal the win. Daniel Carlson just needs to kick a field goal for insurance.
And he missed again.
Yep, they're gonna fuck this up. Wouldn't you guess it, the god-awful Oakland defense chokes on the final drive to blow the game and spoil the moment for the fans. It's such a fitting way for the Raiders to leave, pissing away an easy win to a shitty team with nothing to play for. What a big fat fuck you to the fans who stuck through all the losing. Is it any wonder they all became livid and started throwing shit onto the field? A violent fan base getting violent, it's stunning. If I had to witness this shit, I'd be doing the same thing. You guys are finally getting it. The Raiders don't give a flying fuck about you. They never have. It shows in how Mark Davis has acted like a spoiled child for years. Enjoy being another aging sideshow in Vegas, Raiders. It's worthy of your failure. The fossils at the top of the food chain for Jacksonville may have a hollow victory, but they've got their own shit to deal with. I knew that bringing in Tom Coughlin as an executive was a terrible idea, and now I have ammo. We saw inklings of horror, but realizing it's so draconian that they force their players to get medical treatment in-house in the offseason, and then fine them exponentially if they don't oblige? That is the hell of Jacksonville. Here's a fun fact. Of all the grievances filed to the NFLPA over the past few years, the Jags were responsible for a quarter of them. Dante Fowler, for his time with Jacksonville, was fined over $700,000 by the team for this bullshit. This is total incompetence and a complete disregard for any sort of player relations. Now all the moves in tension on the team are making sense. The Jags are rumored to fire those at the top soon, but the damage is already done. They've created a culture of distrust and resentment, and it's destroyed an entire team in the process. Fitting for the forgotten lolcow. Do you remember how well the Niners played against the Saints last week? Unfortunately, that win came at a devastating cost. Heaps upon heaps of injuries. Even though it was a Pyrrhic victory, you at least get a chance at an easy opponent in the Falcons? Yes, Kyle Shanahan's old flame will be out for blood after his play calling in the Super Bowl, but San Francisco will be one step ahead. Well, we'd all wish that, but remember the Niners are injured to fuck and the Falcons are pretending that winning will do something good for their future. Levi's Stadium is forced to suffer through the inevitable plight of playing down to their competition. Or is it really, since Atlanta's simply underachieving and still has talent? I can't tell anymore. Either way, the Falcons are pushing back hard in the fourth quarter. Wouldn't it be something if they got one up on their old coordinator? There's one last chance for them to win, and it's at the goal line.
Matt Ryan, clock running, end zone throw. And did he hold on? Yes!
That was so ironic, let's do it again.
Matt Ryan for the win.
Game. Kyle Shanahan falters again into his old team. Atlanta wins nothing but a worse draft position and thinking that Dan Quinn is still the answer. A foolish endeavor. San Fran, at least you made the playoffs? I had no idea what to think of them before the season started. The injuries last year derailed their season and they had a lot of questions to answer. Well, they did. I just don't know if it'll be enough to win their division, though. Good luck. Buffalo's first game in prime time since 2007. Of course, it's against a team that always bests them in their boogeyman's home park. What a perfect scenario for a much-needed statement win. Pittsburgh, well, they wouldn't budge. They've got playoff dreams of their own to aspire to. The result of such a collision of ideals is a gauntlet of outstanding defense. I don't know how much of it is because both offenses are shit, but the consistent playmaking of both teams made for an interesting tilt. This is where I must admit my bias and say that Randy Fichtner is a cuck who shouldn't be anywhere near an offense, but Bills fans probably say the same about Brian Daboll as well. You know it's the sign of being too damn cute? Wildcat plays near the 10-yard line. Because they've been snuffed out nearly every other time you've tried them, right? Despite being offensively challenged as well, Buffalo makes the Yinzer faithful age as fast as Ben's transformation into a construction worker from McKee's Rocks. They can thank the gods that they got the significantly better Edmonds in the 2018 NFL Draft. Also that Duck Hodges is an outright awful game, but it is the Bills' defense. They're the rock that supports this enterprise. and it's rewarded them with both the win and a playoff berth. Your defense is legit, Buffalo. You've earned this chance to go further into the year. However, I must warn you, if your offense is going to always be this flat, you will be a rather quick out. Sorry, it doesn't wow me. It needs more work. I just don't think it can be fixed in the short term. So, Indy, you were all but given the killing blow in a matchup you desperately needed to win. If you step into this next room, you will receive your fantastic reward. Yes, it's a black hole into a perpetual pit of despair. You're going to the Superdome to be sacrificed to appease the football gods. Playing the part of the shaman performing the ritual will be Drew Brees, who was near perfection with his arm. Want to know how locked in he was? He set the record for highest completion percentage in a game. Ironic how he will also pass Peyton Manning for most career passing touchdowns against his old team.
Going for it. Scrambling, looking to the end zone. And there it is!
Don't make me bitch about shitty calls again.
Will he get it here? Yes!
That's more like it. The offensive flair they showed didn't really matter though, as Indy was dead on arrival. A near shutout for the Saints defense. Colts, this is what we call karma. If only you had a franchise quarterback that would put this team over the top. I just don't know where you could find one that the previous regime didn't destroy. Speaking of luck, I hope that dude's enjoying life. What a shame that this franchise killed his career. We're near the end, so what better way to celebrate than with a lol cow of the week? Janoris Jenkins, a veteran stalwart of the New York Giants. It's been a trying season for the G-men, and Janoris has taken a good bit of criticism by the fans. He's boasted of his strong play, but people question why it hasn't translated into winning. Jenkins proceeded to take the high road and call someone a retard on Twitter. He should know that such a word isn't considered kosher to use freely, but Janoris doubled down. He has an explanation for his actions. Calling people retards is a hood thing. Yeah, I call bullshit. That's an internet thing when some dumbass misplays a lane in League of Legends. The Giants used this as an opportunity to cut him due to his actions. He has been punished by being claimed by a legitimate Super Bowl contender in the Saints. Who's the lol cow now? Most of the playoff seedings are in order, but there are still a few places up for grabs. In the AFC East, New England controls its own destiny, but Buffalo can bring joy to us all by winning both games and the Patriots losing out. The AFC South will be Houston's if they win or Tennessee loses one of their next two games. The last wildcard spot is still Pittsburgh's for the time being, but the Titans are breathing down their neck. There's also Oakland and Cleveland clinging onto the ledge for dear life. In the NFC East, the Cowboys' goal is to simply win this next game and they win the division. If they don't, it makes it much easier for Philly unless they lose to the Giants in Week 17. If Green Bay beats Minnesota, they will win the NFC North. Minnesota only wins it if Green Bay loses both games and the Vikings win out. The NFC West will likely be settled in Week 17 between Seattle and San Francisco, but crazy shenanigans could happen in Week 16. The final wildcard spot is Minnesota's in all but name unless the Rams win out and the Vikings collapse. This should get interesting. I hope. You know the rule.
Don't get eliminated!
The gods always demand sacrifice. Let us lament those we have lost this week.
Unit lost. 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 Unit lost.
May the fallen be blessed in the football afterlife. Amen.
5 defenders standing inside the 25-yard line. They come after Haskins. He flips the ball.